For all the naysayers that think this is fake or homemade or what have you, there's just a few things that I want to show, starting with the front. You see how these caliper bolts are right in line. Now this obviously isn't a caliper, it's a drum brake, and it's been switched to the opposite side because they wanted a leading axle as opposed to a trailing axle. Now, no production ones were like this. Here we have a beautiful 81. They are not in line. That proves this was before. And if you think that that doesn't prove anything, we have this here to go by. This is sales literature. This has the very same caliper mounting bolts in the inline arrangement. It also has no aluminum tag indicating an engine serial number, as the production models do, down in there behind the engine. Also, production model has the stepped bolts. They are not in line. One is in, one is out. Now we go back to the next thing. The adjustable neck. Now that can be said this way or the other, but I don't think someone in their backyard is going to be able to do that with any kind of precision. It would take an engineer, a good machinist, or at least a very skilled fabricator. So we can forget about that right now. Otherwise, this flywheel cover. Also, not on any production motorcycle, CR250, or on any other three-wheeler. It's very round, not square, as opposed to the one we're all used to seeing, this style, as was used on the production models. And while we're here, we see the production model has a bolt-on engine mount with a plate behind there that bolts to the front of the engine. On the prototype style frame, it is a welded mount with a long bracket welded right to it where it attaches to the engine. It also has this ear coming up. We go back to our literature. This, being a later prototype, has the correct flywheel cover. Correct flywheel cover. Also has the bolt-on frame, or motor mounts. Go over here, in the Honda Red Book, 1981, this has a welded motor mount. And if you notice, it's the older style fork. So this doesn't prove anything, but it proves Honda took pictures of their prototypes to get things to print. Because once you have a machine built and developed, what's the point of writing literature about it? You're going to get nowhere with that. You have to have the literature out 6 to 8 months before the model comes out, so you get the people all hyped up. That's what sales is. That's how it works. Also, this lower engine mount that I pointed to, it appears they started out with this style. And then they ended up with this style. But the intermediate style is this. Also notice rear brake pedal is black. On the prototype that I have, oh, not the prototype. Where was the chrome one? Oh, yeah, on this one. This is chrome, because this was a prototype they were getting ready to run. Now, have any of you ever seen a pipe on a first gen R look like that? That big, ugly, gaudy elephant trunk looking thing? No way. This also is a prototype bike. It also appears, now I don't know if this is the way the picture was taken or bad angles, but it appears this frame has a curve that follows the fender. 250R frames do not have a curve that follows the fender. So what this tells me is all these literature pictures are all different vintages and trial periods of the 250R. There, it's showing the industry-leading front brake, but it's the old style fork. Then, when you get to a production machine like this one, engine serial number, later lower mount, bolt-on front mount, and staggered caliper bolts. This is what you bought in the dealer, and this is what I have one of. Big heavy lower mount, bolt-on front mount, square cover, serial number, tag riveted to the block with TB06E. staggered brake bolts. Also, on the engine cases, because they weren't worried about it, they were just trying to get engines done, at the oil check, the raised letters are cast right in there. Oil check. Prototype, not there yet. Also, the clutch cover doesn't say made in Japan on the bottom. It's a little bit slender. It's not quite the big fat shape that you're used to. This here stepped out just a hair more. Not much of a noticeable difference. And in this case, see in there, 961 AE-0020. Now, I have a really good picture, but I might be able to show you here. In there on this one, it's hard to see. A little light behind it that sometimes helps. Right there, 961 AE-0030, 33, 36, or 38. I'm not sure, but it's 003. So it's at minimum a 30 engine. Mine is a 20. This engine came from Honda. So when you add all that up, plus the frame neck that has a letter B on it, B on that half, and B on that half, to change out. Where's letter A, where's letter C, and how many of them were made. It also, because they didn't have good parts at the time, that is a brake off of what I believe a late 70 CR because of the magnesium's denunciation in the backing plate. Now, like I said, these forks were turned around. Probably the guy wanted wheelbase. This thing was made in California and somehow got into the hands of a guy who raced it in Wisconsin on ice. He was the one who probably put on the 36 PJ or 34 PJ carburetor. Could be a 36, I'm not sure. I would imagine it's a 34 stock off an 86 oval slide PJ model. He also upgraded to the 82 disc rear setup, which is a different swing arm and everything, because as you know, the 81s had the backing plate integrally part of the swing arm. Also, it has 2-piece, 3-lug aluminum wheels. I assume they were aftermarket. Probably be bought from anybody, Douglas, Mitchell, ITP, anybody up through the years. We also believe it's a Bassini exhaust, which would have been added later. This guy raced it, and what do you do with your race bike? You change parts, you buy better parts, you work on it, you fix it, you make it better. So it's not in its original prototype state. But it is a prototype. The original had a very small carburetor and a very choked up exhaust with heat shield. And it's the trailing axle front end. I'm sure the gas tank probably was changed. It probably got wrecked, probably got banged up. The frame was repaired right there, probably from a wreck. Who knows? But don't say that I'm a liar, and don't say that this is homemade when I have things like this welded engine mount that never should have left the factory. These were in nothing but pictures. When they went to production, they went to a bolted style like the production. When they went to production, this was not hand stamped. It was cast TB06 and then the serial number, and the serial number was stamped into an aluminum tag on rivets. This matches my literature. This flywheel cover, it's not off a dirt bike. It's off of this 3-wheeler and this 3-wheeler only. The change in this engine mount, it was beefy, then it was weak, then it was beefy again. And there you can see, it's the heavier duty, beefy style. So everybody that says this isn't real or this was homemade, it also has Honda Special Projects badge on it. Yeah, blah blah, it says Team Honda, whatever. I'm just saying, don't call me a liar, and don't say this is homemade, because I have enough evidence with all this paperwork and with the engine number that's on this one right here, and the fact that this has this fork like this, and the red book has that style fork, and yet you go to the production one with a real production engine with the aluminum tag, it has the later model fork. Also, if you look at a 78, 79 CR250R, they are a left foot rearward kicker, and it is this kicker. But when you take a left foot rearward kicker off and put it on a right side, it becomes a forward kicker. That's why this is a CR250R 1978-79 Kickstarter. Aluminum wheels, 2-piece, 3-lug. And that frame is very prettily done. This isn't a crack, that's Bondo. There's plastic body filler in there. An engineer made this thing work. For this frame to tie together like this, it wasn't done in someone's backyard. And with this engine being 0020, that means it was number 20. So that one there in the book was number 30, 33, 36, or 38. They already had figured out the frame geometry and had changed the motor mount design from a welded to a bolted. And if you look closely, there's no bolts in it. That engine's not even bolted in. And they did away with this. This had holes in it on a prototype. On a production, it did not. On a real production, it still did not.